What he has not said that his wife has had full proper treatment with chemo, surgery, radiation, and that was very crucial and beneficial. What was playing a supportive role became a centerpiece.
And the fact that he was in a position of power as an influencer, and there has to be a responsibility. So the fact that he abused that, I think, is actually very serious. It's an offense.
Diet has a very complex, relationship with cancer. You have a whole lot of data and studies for associations. That okay, this diet, this association, this diet, this association. Does that diet cause something or protects? Either way. Now that is not proven for almost any diet I am aware of. There is no proof that changing the diet pattern after you get a cancer, it is therapeutic.
To cure cancer with diet alone is neither been proven, nor it is plausible, nor is it possible.
Untrained, half baked, a lot of practices are going around without any data evidence.
The study which was done, was in TMH was for breast cancer patients who were on treatment, and it was found that quality of life was better for them. So in those patients, it should be used. But can I extrapolate based on that? It prevents cancer. That will be a bit of a stretch. Does yoga, prevent cancer? Yoga leads to improvement in quality of life in a breast cancer patient on treatment. Yes, there's evidence for it.
The question of ban and scam. Now, my problem is there are more than many people who ask either allopathic or standard of care to be stopped and convince the patient that if you take this alternative form of therapy, you'll be cured. I do have an issue that there are people out there who are thugging people for their own benefit.
Yes, there are a whole lot of time when quality of life of the patient take precedence over the quantity of life. Then yes, those happiness, those of the patient of quality of life becomes far more important, and we do concede to it.
This intermittent fasting or extended fasting for 14 hours per se is not a prescription, which I believe. In fact, if you do too much of fasting while on treatment, it may have side effects.
If your gluten is from a bad source containing lots of pesticide and rodenticides because not cleaned, of course it will cause problems. But if your gluten is from the good source, explain the biological rationale of that being a problem. Should we eat millet and bajra? Of course we should. It's a good grain. Nobody's questioning that. But will it cure cancer, like Kumar said? The answer is no. And I think it's a very vehement and clear no.
वो हम बोलते हैं ना तिनके का सहारा. Patients, they look for, because they look for hope. We as a human being look for hope in any way, and whoever gives that hope, and it may be false hope.
We should not give false hope. Everybody is looking for hope. It should be a realistic conversation with optimism. I use the word optimism. People ask us, Dr. Saab, should I write my will and do these things? I'd encourage them.
Hello and welcome to HT's weekly talk show, The Interview. Cricketer turned politician Navjot Singh Sidhu stirred a hornet's nest when he claimed that turmeric and neem can cure cancer. Sidhu's wife was suffering from cancer. Quote, the doctors gave her 40 days and now she is cancer-free, unquote, he said. Attributing her recovery to home remedies than medical intervention, Sidhu's claims have created enough confusion. It has led 262 oncologists to write an open letter urging the people to guard against unsubstantiated claims. Don't be fooled, is what one of the doctors said. But this is less about Sidhu and more about cancer and the misinformation being spread. Cancer is not something to be taken lightly. It needs medical intervention and treatment. So while Sidhu can look at home remedies and debunk treatment, we have put together a panel of eminent doctors to dispel myths and misinformation in this edition of HD's weekly talk show, The Interview. Before we begin, let me introduce our panel of eminent doctors. We have with us Dr. Harit Chaturvedi, Chairman, Max Institute of Cancer Care, Dr. Nitesh Rohtgi, Senior Director, Medical Oncology, Fortis Institute, and Dr. Kumar Prabhash, Head Medical Oncology at Tata Memorial Hospital. Welcome to the show, and thank you all for being here with us. And at the outset, let me request you to be brutally honest in this program rather than being politically correct.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's actually an honor and it's much needed to talk about myths around cancer in the society.
Thank you for inviting me, and it is important to discuss regarding this issue.
Let me begin with the recent controversy that cricketer turned politician Navjot Singh Sidhu has started. What is your take on what he has said, and more importantly, on what he has not said? We could begin with Dr. Chaturvedi.
I'll say that what he has not said is very important. What he has not said that his wife has had full proper treatment with chemo, surgery, radiation, and that was very crucial and beneficial. What was playing a supportive role became a centerpiece. But in that whole thing, the good thing has come out, and that is that we have actually started discussing this in more detail.
Dr. Rohtgi, your take?
I agree with Dr. Harit, but I think the add on is that it is the implication and the fact that he was in a position of power as an influencer, and there has to be a responsibility. So the fact that he abused that and tried to influence people who, in fact, could harm by what he was implying, not what he was saying, but what he was implying, I think is actually very serious. It's an offense and should be taken like one.
Dr. Prabhash, do you think, of course, your take on this, and do you think the celebrity status made things worse, as Dr. Rohtgi is saying?
So, first part, that what he said and what he didn't. He said part of the whole journey for his patient, and which was important. Wish it was the complete one, and that is what people wanted to know, and that would have been very informative. There are many times in life when a journey of a patient told by a caregiver becomes very important. Now, coming to celebrity status, that cuts both ways. We know in a society, so many times celebrity status becomes so useful in making the society and people adopt so many good ways of working, doing, motivating.
I want to add one thing that what was most surprising that the media did not put the right questions to him. He could hold a press conference because of his status, but media did not question him that on what basis are you advising this? Is this experience of one case? Is this a study of 100 days which has come to this and it is contradicting the whole this thing? So I think media also failed in a significant way.
Well, on that, I will not be on the same page as you. But however, he also spoke about the role of turmeric and neem. What role do these play in cancer cure? And let me
Can
ask you
I,
one by one.
okay, can I take that first,
Yeah.
Doctor, if
Of
you
course.
don't mind? Okay. So please understand that cancer is not one condition. It's like saying fever. It's not one condition. It could be from many reasons. So cancer can be of many organs, and there are certain natural products which allow us to eat right, lose weight, decrease inflammation. And neem and turmeric are one of them. It's not new. It's 50 years old, 40 years, maybe even 300 years old. But let's look deep. It's not about the nomenclature turmeric or the nomenclature neem, right? There was a very interesting study which started all this 30 years ago, which actually claimed you need to eat 1 kilo, 1,000 milligram of kachi haldi or turmeric every day, by the end of which we'll actually die of gastritis and stomach bleeding before actually you get cured of cancer. Because the active ingredient, which may be something called VEGF inhibition, is only found in very small quantities and in fact, its absorption is even poorer. So, what you have to be careful about is what we all are saying: is there a role in supplementation? Because a good diet helps you to lose weight. Weight is inflammatory. Lose estrogen, which is inflammatory. Help you balance your diet. Exercise more. Answer is yes. But equally, if that diet causes gastritis, reflux, stops making you eat, a balanced diet, which we'll speak about, I think the neem and turmeric can be quite fatal.
Dr. Chaturvedi?
So I would say that in a specific way for neem and turmeric, yes, all that Nitesh said is very valuable. It has some value in terms of immunity, in terms of anti-inflammatory roles and all these things, but cannot play a therapeutic role, only a supportive role. That's all I can say. One more point, that the traditional Indian diet has reasonable amount of these spices and
Yeah.
salts, which actually serves in a significantly positive way in terms of prevention.
But not cure.
Not cure.
Not.
It has no therapeutic value. It has only supportive value, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant.
Dr. Kumar Prabhash, I know you will not contradict Dr. Chaturvedi since he's been your
No,
teacher,
no.
but at the same time, would you like to add to this?
So, diet has a very complex, relationship with cancer. So, you have a whole lot of data and studies for associations. That okay, this diet, this association, this diet, this association. Does that diet cause something or protects? Either way. Now, that is not proven for almost any diet I am aware of. So that's the reason you will never find this as a recommended diet for people. Yes, you can have a diet for patient to have live a healthy, hygienic life. That is true, so that you don't gain weight. Those are the byproduct of the diet, and then it may end up benefiting a patient. That's a separate issue. Second part, they changing the diet plan for therapy. Trust me, that is far far more complicated and
Complex.
cumbersome issue. And again, there is no proof that changing the diet pattern after you get a cancer, it is therapeutic. So these are certain aspects which is very important to remember. So I didn't talk about only neem and haldi, but haldi is something maybe all three of us can talk about. As on date, again, there is no again iota of evidence that yes, this need to be used as a treatment.
Dr. Kumar
Can I
Prabhash?
add one more thing?
Yeah,
Kumar has picked up a
please.
very good point, and also to add to that, almost all studies are at cell level, not human being level. It is this cell inhibits, this cell doesn't inhibit. So the dose association, the therapeutic value to cure cancer is not there. It just does not exist.
So, if I decode what Dr. Kumar Prabhash has said, that diet has very little or perhaps nothing to do with either prevention of cancer or cure. Is that right?
What Kumar is saying, that to cure cancer with diet alone is neither been proven, nor it is plausible, nor is it possible. He's just saying it cannot treat by itself. Kumar, am I right in saying that?
Yes, so curcumin doesn't treat cancer.
Correct.
So, let me put it differently. Am I understanding that none of these things or diet as a whole has very little to do with curing cancer?
Correct.
Yes.
No doubt about that.
What Sidhu said is that's why misleading, because what he said was, if you don't eat, you lose weight. If you eat a lot of haldi and nimbu, and he's written all of those things, you get cured of cancer. Excuse me, I didn't see the cure in his wife anyway. We saw a PET scan showing an improvement, which, from what we understood, had already improved by chemotherapy previously. Where is the cure? Because our understanding of cure is disease not coming back. So I think that's why the misleading, and I want people to take this very clear message: indulge in whatever else other than standard of care. If it feels good, uh, indulge a little bit, but do not replace it for standard of care, and do not overindulge because it can cause harm. Only yesterday there's a liver doc on Twitter. He has posted a 3 page of a patient who died of liver failure because of Ayurvedic or Unani medicine he was on. He's written a complete with a prescription of the Unani medicine. So who's responsible for that?
I'm going to come to Unani and Ayurveda and homeopathy and the point you raised about a prescription from maybe a non MBBS.
Yeah, quackery is well known to be harmful. It is very, very harmful. There's enough data on that, and there is no evidence, or whatever evidence is there. I think first thing, I will always guide my patients that don't mix up things. If you want to go the Ayurvedic way or some other way, follow that. And I will not comment because I have no understanding of that. But if you're doing this, don't mix up because we don't know the side effects and how they both combine and could do harm, and things may go haywire. So first is that. Second thing is untrained, half-baked, a lot of practices are going around without any data evidence.
So, Dr. Chaturvedi, what you're saying is that it should be either or. Normally, what happens is a homeopath or a Unani or a Ayurved, they say, आप अपना कीमो कराते रहिए और ये तो साथ साथ है इसका कोई साइड इफेक्ट नहीं होता but from what I understand you're saying both cannot or all cannot be simultaneous and
That is
should
my
be either
opinion.
or.
Yes, it should not go together because I don't know how the side effects will combine.
Dr. Kumar, and then to Dr. Nitesh, who also spoke about banning these prescriptions and non MBBS, be it Ayurved, homeopath, or even dietitians giving prescriptions. So, Dr. Kumar Prabhash?
There are some of them things which is very good. For example, yoga has been picked up, and if you see, one of the research work was done at TMH for yoga, and it was found that you know it does help in patient overall in calming down, better quality of life. So that is also a useful component. We need to be very careful because one of the issue remains, ultimately those treatments also you do have chemicals, and many of those chemicals we also use it. For example, lithium, for example arsenic. Now these are also part of use in alternative medicine, and we know that these heavy metals, whenever apart from this also we have used it, there is increase in side effects and toxicity for our patients. These are all chemicals in different forms and different ways. So being careful when we are using will be important.
Dr. Kumar, you are a practitioner of yoga and you do it practically every day. Do you think some of the asanas would help in, I don't know, prevention or cure, or do they have no relationship? And the study you were talking about, what does it indicate?
So the study which was done, was in TMH was for breast cancer patients who were on treatment, and it was found that quality of life was better for them. So in those patients, it should be used. But can I extrapolate based on that? It prevents cancer. That will be a bit of a stretch. What we can say, hey, sure, please do yoga to keep yourself healthy. That does help in decreasing the chances of people having cancer. But does yoga prevent cancer? Yoga leads to improvement in quality of life in a breast cancer patient on treatment. Yes, there's evidence for it. I never use the word yoga leads to cure of cancer. That we need to be again careful about it.
Would yoga help in prevention?
Any form of exercise, I know helps in patient having a lesser chance of cancer.
Dr. Rotaki, since we are being brutally frank, you spoke about banning such prescriptions and
Yeah.
in the context of homeopathy and Unani and Ayurveda and even dietitians who are not doctors.
Yeah. So let's understand that what Kumar or Dr. Harita is saying is that there's clearly a role of an add-on benefit. A lot of this is placebo. We know belief. I've just had a patient who was disease was increasing, insisted that she wants to go to London, meet her grandkids, and come back. And 1 month later, on the same treatment and having a at least a couple of red meats and white meats and enjoying everything because she didn't know when she'd come back, her disease is better. She's eaten the worst kind of diet, hasn't she, in that term? But she was a much happier person. But the question of ban and scam. Now, my problem is there are more than many people who ask either allopathic or standard of care to be stopped and convince the patient that if you take this alternative form of therapy, you'll be cured. So please understand, cancer has a fear because it's lethal. And I do have an issue that there are people out there who are thugging people for their own benefit. And that doesn't sound right to me.
I'm sure Dr.
I
Chaturvedi
just
and
want,
Dr. Kumar Prakash would be on the
yes,
same page, but in case they want to add,
I just want to add that and rather reinforce what Nitish was saying, that it should be data driven. It should be supported by evidence across institutions. Generally, and what allopathy or modern medicine is all about, that across institutions, thousands of journals, hundreds and thousands of conferences, all this gets shared, debated, discussed, and that is the outcome which we all practice in our clinics. We don't practice what has been done by one or two or five people. We practice what has been enforced or reinforced by thousands of scientists.
while on data, I have an issue. And I'm going to address this to Dr. Kumar Prabhash because he has done a lot of work and research. There is all kinds of data. What do we believe? Which is good data? Which is authentic data? Which is bad data? Because any study today is data. Any study today is evidence, however substandard it may be. So, on that, it's a very gray area for a person who's not in the medical field or doesn't know to distinguish between good, better, best.
So let me take analogy and mm, so if I want information, I go on WhatsApp or I go on Hindustan Times. So
They are not the
just
same.
they're
Dr.
not the same.
Prabhash, they are not the same.
I agree that I totally agree. That's the reason I made the point, and
Okay.
we know that. That's the reason I made a point, madam. I don't go on WhatsApp. I go to Hindustan Times. So
Thank you.
I'll say yes. So what I was trying to bring to the discussion was that with time, in general, we know it. What kind of data is good? So if you can put data to all three of us, trust me, almost 99% time will be we may not be aware what you're showing us, but if three of us, if you show us data today hey, these are five data, which one you think is good, I can let you know that 99% time we three will be on the same page. Scientific community has a responsibility. They do talk more about it, that what kind of evidence or data you think in this situation is useful, which is acceptable, which we include in our treatment practice. Otherwise, there will be alternate narrative which comes in and fills the vacuum.
Okay, let me go back to Dr. Nitish's point about happiness over diet, the point he made and the example he gave. Would you subscribe to that, Dr. Kumar Prabhash?
Happiness and diet.
And
For there is
Okay.
no proof today for this patient eating meat and chicken was unhealthy.
And maybe I can add to it, then yes, there are a whole lot of time when quality of life patient take precedence over the quantity of life. Then yes, those happiness, those of the patient, of quality of life becomes far more important, and we do concede to it. There is uh, I'll say not official, it is regularly done by doctors, we call drug holidays, which is done. But again, for all of them, there are evidences to talk to the patient, and knowing that we do in a way that we don't end up harming the patient.
The next point is about intermittent fasting. Starve the patient and you starve cancer cells. And I would like each one of you, we could start with Dr. Chaturvedi, to either dispel this or add or at least set the record straight.
intermittent fasting or extended fasting for 14 hours per se is not a prescription which I believe. In fact, if you do too much of fasting while on treatment, it may have side effects. But by doing such fasting things, you may actually cut down your calories. That may be benefiting because your calorie cut down happens. But per se,
Dr.
it is
Rothi?
not a recommendation.
So I think that's a complex area because there have been studies to look at intermittent fasting and cancer, but there have been biological questions raised that does intermittent fasting beyond a point starts ketosis, which is where the intermittent fasting's key role is, and does some cancers actually use ketones to grow. So there have been again biological models that when you do intermittent fasting, you develop ketones. We know that, but for some cancers, ketones can be used to grow. So while you may be thinking intermittent fasting will help, it may harm. Up to 10 to 12 hours of fasting is usually a good thing because, as I said, it allows an insulin sensitivity, which is anti inflammatory, anti diabetic, and also helps generally in control of diet. I do remember a lot of our patients are, for example, on steroids, so they feel very hungry and they get carb cravings. So, by itself, again, that's not a cure. It may help some patients, but you've got to be careful to the extent you go.
What is the role of gluten in cancer cure and prevention? Dr. Nitesh, if I recall, you have said that it plays no role.
So it's a actually question of fads. Fads come and fads go, and we've gone from sugar clearly causes cancer. Don't touch sugar. We have seen how dairy was considered this very big issue, causes cancer. And recently there was a 79% increase in under 50 cancers, one of the largest studies, which actually said dairy deficiency is one of the reasons for increase in under 50 cancers. So where do you stand? It's a fad. Please apply your logic. If your gluten is from a bad source containing lots of pesticide and rodenticides because not cleaned, of course it will cause problems. But if your gluten is from the good source, explain the biological rationale of that being a problem. Should we eat millet and bajra? Of course we should. It's a good grain. Nobody is questioning that. But will it cure cancer, like Kumar said? The answer is no. And I think it's a very vehement and clear no. Millet, bajra, staying away from gluten cannot cure. 90% people who get cancer go to work, get burger from Burger King, eat that burger, get the chemotherapy, go back home because they don't have support and they get cured. So where is the logic in that?
Dr. Chaturvedi and Dr. Prabhash, please add or subtract to what Dr. Rothke said.
Causative? No. So, one should not look into that aspect, that it is causative factor. Gluten sensitivity, that can be a separate issue, and then what to eat will be a separate issue. For cancer, no, this is not something we should look seriously.
I'm going to go back to Dr. Rothgi on this issue of fads come and fads go. And to my mind, gluten is one of those fads. I don't know if all of you will agree, and I will come to you for that, because we have all, Indians by and large, have all grown up on wheat. So this wheat, unless, as you said, gluten sensitivity, but stay away from wheat. Gluten is bad. Gluten can be X, Y, Z. I don't understand this, and I would again ask Dr. Rothgi to explain this fad. He's spoken about the scam. We will talk about the fad, and then go on to both of you for elaboration.
So I'll tell you another very interesting theory which I read very recently, about 6 months ago, right? And this nutritionist who's working in nutrition oncology in Europe, he studied a group of people and said, on chemotherapy, right? On on any very stressful situations in life, whether that's a burn, that's chemo, that's post surgery, it seems the diet that you are happiest eating is the best diet. And what is the diet happiest eating? Is the diet you had which your mother made when you were in the growing years, that like teenage years. We never had problem that time. We self-selected things that were good, that were bad. Some we knew that we don't like. So the if you go on that diet, which is a rainbow diet, as many colors within a day as you can, whatever is not in the day, put it in 2 days, whatever is not in 2 days, put in a week, whatever color is missing in a week, put it in a month. So many colors, a balance. What is balanced diet? If you are, let's say, 60 kilos, your weight should be 16 to 30, 1800 kilos. Half of that, 900 kilos, should come from protein. One fourth, 450, should come from fat, and one should come from carbohydrates. Beyond this, we don't have a better suggestion. To lose weight, to gain weight, we use calories. Then how come suddenly we bring in gluten and fats when we talk about it? So my contention always has been your logic versus Google Baba, or your logic versus WhatsApp Baba. At least analyze. We analyze so much when we're buying a car and washing machine. How do we not analyze when we are taking a diet?
Dr. Kumar Prabhash,
So I
do
think
you
so.
share Dr. Rothgi's anger?
So I do, because I know, and I do understand where our patient comes from and where this fad also comes from. So वो हम बोलते हैं ना, तिनके का सहारा. Patients, they look for, because they look for hope. We as a human being look for hope in any way, and whoever gives that hope, and it may be false hope, but we end up trying to catch that, and now someone wants to market it. So yes, that is where the fad comes from, and if this gets amplified by various ways and means, more people picks up. No one goes and sees the result, which Dr. Rohatgi was mentioning about. This is what leads to this kind of fad, and I do absolutely relate with the disappointment from Dr. Rohatgi's side, that this is something needs to be actively discouraged, because ultimately patient puts resources at the wrong places. They can put those resources at the right place where there is some real hope. It can be a small one, but the real hope.
I completely agree with Kumar's point that we do empathize with our patient. We understand where the question is coming from. We understand these issues that we are saying there is not a hope for cure, but we can control this. And somebody else is saying, I can cure it. We understand that. But we also do not understand somebody else using this situation. It's just to us unethical, using this situation to make money.
A sensitive point, but as we all agreed to be brutally frank, Dr. Chaturvedi, would you contribute to this?
Yes, perfectly. I think I fully agree. I'm in sync with what they are saying, and absolutely that we should not give false hope. Everybody's looking for hope. It should be a realistic conversation with optimism. I use the word optimism.
Dr. Kumar Prabhash, let me ask you specifically about a statement from over 100 doctors from the Tata Institute who have refuted Sidhu's claims.
And in fact, I will request many more organizations to come forward. And I say this, that if we want scientific discussion to happen, all these scientific forums, these organizations, they should come forward, especially in these situations, to clarify to the society what is happening. If they retrieve, that is where the vacuum gets filled by something else. So if we want the information, the right information to go, it is good for organizations, and I request many more other organizations to come forward in these situations to dispel myth of the people, have a clarification, so that people, they know, hey, I can, if there's a situation like this, I will be able to get information from these 5, 10, 15, a good organization in those individual field.
It's about doctors' responsibility versus a celebrity irresponsibility.
I'll
Yes.
say I will more go for, as a doctors and organizations, uh, I'll say responsibility to हर एक का है, taking the onus, the doctors taking the onus and clarifying to the society.
I'm going to wind up this program on the several myths, some which I know and some which, of course, you would educate me on. But before that, let me ask you one question about the role of non-stick cookware and also microwaves, which are said to cause cancer.
My opinion, these are myths, but I will request Kumar and Nitesh to have comments.
So no, these are myths. There is some association about at what temperature you cook, your food, and then some association for cancer is there. But overall, yes, it is a myth.
I feel it's related to quality actually. So there have been changes in non-stick. I think about 3 or 4 changes over the last 4 decades. The first and the second were clearly products of plastic which were melting at between 80 to 90 degrees, which obviously meant a lot of plastic was going in. Since then, at least high quality non-stick has taken care of that. It can go up to 240, 250, so you can burn oil in it. What is very important, and this is a practical tip, most of our servants take that non-stick and they clean it with that metal tuna. So the non-stick wears off and then you're exposed to the plastic again. So it is very important that if you are using non-stick, which is safe when it's high quality, you know how to look after it.
What about microwave?
To my mind, it's a similar problem that there was a time when with microwave came in a lot of plastic because metal strips were not allowed. So we were in the era where people were using a lot of metal or a lot of metal lining, right? And so everybody changed to heat in plastic, and that plastic was also degrading and coming as things. If you look at the latest microwave utensils, almost entire thing has gone into glass or very high quality plastic which doesn't melt with temperature. So I think this is a very good question because when you do cursory reading, you come up with these myths. If you actually spend another half an hour and deep dive, oh, why is nonstick bad? And then what is in nonstick that's bad? How does it cause cancer? When you spend that 2 hours, you come up with some very good clarity.
Or as Dr. Kumar Prabhash said, WhatsApp versus Hindustan Times. Now I'm going to move on to myths, and I have a small list. Stop eating sugar. Surgery means cancer will spread, and no biopsy, radiation, or chemotherapy. Can I request each one of you to give your take and also maybe add to some of the myths that you come across?
So this question I face 100 times in a day that biopsy से cancer फैल जाएगा and surgery will lead to spread. So this is a big, big myth causing a lot of harm. I think Kumar or Nitesh, somebody said it's our onus to spread the message and fill the gap. If we don't give information, the myths will spread and the wrong information will occupy that space. As far as side effects of radiation, chemo, or surgery is concerned, everything has a toll. But in a planned way, the benefits far outweigh the side effects. Surgery also has morbidity, an organ loss or a limb mobility restriction or a loss of sensory part, sensation in certain part. These things are part of it. But you're getting rid of a fatal disease, of a significant disease. In chemo also, as both experts will elaborate, that has some side effects, but the benefits far outweigh. So I think the bottom line is that there is some pro and con, but the pro is much more, and that is why it's called treatment. If the con becomes bigger, then it's not treatment, it's poison. So we have to balance it out.
What are the myths you have come across, Dr. Chaturvedi, during your long years of practice?
So many things. Eating microwave food or fasting and intermittent fasting are the big areas which people talk about. And I think sugar is also another area. People talk in a very significant way. That sugar completely. I said don't stop completely in a moderation.
Dr. Kumar Prabhash, what are the myths you have come across and which are the ones you think must be dispelled?
So whole lot of them are there. All of the you suggested they are all myths, and yes, they need to be dispelled. Apart from what Dr. Harit sir suggested, one other one is that can the cancer transmit from me to my family members? There's another one, and other way around. Family members very worried that if I eat with them, can I get cancer?
In fact, this was my next question, and I was going to say it may be naive, but I'm going to ask, is cancer genetic? If someone in the family has it, you too will get it, kind of a thing.
So two things here. When I eat with someone, that question is that is it infective? Means that can it go from one to another? Absolutely zero, no chance. It doesn't happen at all. The other question which you added was, is it genetic? So can it run in the family? Very small number. It does happen in certain cancer. In general, apart from that, either it is because of our lifestyle. For example, if I have a lot of tobacco, alcohol, it is a risk factor. Otherwise, it is a God gift. So by and large, it doesn't go from in the family.
In fact, one myth associated with this is that it runs in the family, but it skips a generation, which means your grandmother will have it, your mother will not, and you will have it.
Very big
So
myth.
so this is again a big myth. So again, I repeat, these are certain things which is true for a small number of patients. This is so uncommon. So that should not become a rule.
Dr. Chaturvedi, on genetic, it being genetic or not, and then Dr. Hotri.
I think Dr. Kumar has elaborated very well that genetic incidence is there in a small percentage, less than 5%, I would put it. And certain cancer, for example, breast, colon, certain cancers, we check out for certain subset of patients that you check the genetic test, and if it is positive, then we screen the family, otherwise it's perfectly fine. Large majority or 95% plus has nothing to do with genetics. Infections also, there's a HPV infection and HBsAg, hepatitis infection. So vaccination, exercise, tobacco, alcohol, and balanced diet. These five things can cover 50 to 55% of cancer incidence.
Dr. Rotigi, on the myths you have come across and whether it is genetic, and if someone in the family has had it, you also will.
Okay, so I'll say two things. First, the genetic part, I agree with both Dr. Kumar and Harit. I don't want to add there, but I want to say this is how myths spread. If I know somebody whose grandmother had, mother didn't have, daughter had, now I will tell everybody far and wide it spreads. This is how myths spread. The second is myths. I'll give you some interesting one. Black clothes and black furniture cause cancer. I'm sure both my colleagues have heard of it. Attached toilet in the room increases risk of cancer coming back. So I've had people break the toilet down, separate it out as far away as possible of a very old lady who had to then use crutches to go because it increases risk of cancer coming back. They are certainly risk the common things that you're hearing about: sugar, dairy, eating some special foods. All these are fads and there's myths. There was a very interesting one called B17, which you look deeper was a complete scam. It was not even a minor scam. It was a complete scam. There was never, you cannot have deficiency or something which doesn't exist. We only have B1 to B12. How do you care a B17 deficiency? And it was done by an American entrepreneur who wanted to sell a product called Latherite. So I'm saying be aware, be careful. When you hear something, just like you're researching what is the best treatment for my family member, also research about what you're hearing and go a bit deeper. Just because it is a hopeful straw, as Kumar was saying, don't make it a detriment in treatment because you got to be careful about that.
One last question to all of you, one by one. If a patient were to ask you, Doctor, will I live or die? What would you say, even when you know that time is running out? Would you be brutally honest or would you give false hope? Dr. Nitish can conclude on that. We'll start with Dr. Kumar Prabhash, Dr. Chaturvedi, and Dr. Nitish.
I'll tell you what exactly I do in the OPD, and these are the words I use. First thing I say, and I do this to almost all my patients, that I don't know about myself. Tomorrow I'll be there or not. So I say, hey, me telling you about individually about you, it is not possible. But I can tell you average. So I do give numbers, average.
And being politically correct.
Yes, वो वैसे बोलते हैं ना, ऐसी वाणी बोलिए, बोले वो important है. You can speak truth, but there are ways to do it, and that part, I've learned because of my able teachers, that how to tell different same thing in a different way where the patients are comfortable. In spite of there are patient who comes back and say, Doctor Saab, when you told me that, now after that I didn't sleep. That is not what you want. But what you were trying to ask me, that do we communicate? Yes. Do we communicate the truth? For example, do we say disease is curable when it is not curable? No, we don't do that.
It's a kind of a half truth situation.
No, it's the kind of a truth which is palatable.
It's very straightforward. First is there's no false falsification. There's nothing called, you have to be brutally honest. I would not say politically correct. I'll say with a sense of optimism, as writing a book. People ask us, Dr. Saab, should I write my will and do these things? I'd encourage them. I say, anyway, you should do it. I should be doing it. People ask, somebody is getting married, important person getting married 6 months later. Should I prepone it? If I have a sense, I'll say, please prepone it, because we don't know how things are. So there is no sense of false hope. I would not give any false hope. I would not generally avoid giving numbers to it. 3 महीने 6 महीने 8 महीने सब बोलने का कोई proper वो नहीं है. But having said that, so when this question is put upfront, I would say, see, this is the stage. These are the treatment options we have used. These are very limited options left. So this is just wrapping up, putting up in a way that people start absorbing the information. Don't say in a hurting manner. Don't say in a manner that person is not mentally prepared for. Not just in a black and white shade. It should be in a gray zone, which is taken care of in a comfortable way.
Dr. Rothke?
I think I agree with both the things being said, and there cannot ever be a one solution to any conversation. Just like a student, there are different students with different education methods, and my learning has been don't rush that communication.
Yeah.
I, as a doctor, must not be in a rush, no matter what the problem is. You have to be truthful. You cannot not be truthful, but it is how you're putting it across. So if you're going to treat people, treating with the hope of some outcome, how can you predict lives? So I think it's important to be human there rather than the doctor. And believe you me, then it all comes together, because at the end of the day, we are two different humans sitting across the table.
In other words, being correct, politically correct, and not brutally
I don't
honest. And I don't mean this
yeah,
frivolously. I mean
yeah.
it as a statement of fact.
The reason I don't like the word politically correct is because somewhere it means that we are trying to be politically correct. What you're trying to be is human. You can, in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, grasp what the other person's level of thinking has reached, and to say what is on your agenda, which is important, the truth, but in a way that it matches patient understanding, is both a skill and an art. And believe you me, we all have learned that from our patients, not from our education.
Dr. Hari Chaturvedi, Dr. Nitesh Rohtki, and Dr. Kumar Prabhash, I can't thank you enough, because not only have you dispelled myths, told us the right things, set the record straight, and informed us, but I think all our viewers will probably be more educated and know what to follow. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for being here with us despite
Thank
your
you.
busy schedules.
Thank you.